On to the fun of U.S. politics. And I tell you what, it's been another awful week for the Kamala Harris campaign. Not only did she flail her way through that Fox News interview with Bret Baier, but she also chickened out of going to the annual Al Smith dinner, a gathering in New York of New York City's most prominent Catholics, where traditionally politicians and presidential candidates give each other a bit of a light-hearted roasting. But she didn't show up, which meant that Donald Trump had the field to himself. And I tell you what, he didn't miss. Now, I'll get to the highlights from that in a moment, but first, let's check out how Kamala is coming up with an answer to that question which I know keeps on vexing her. What would you have done differently to Joe Biden? Let's see how she answered it this time when an MSNBC reporter bailed her up.
President Biden said this week that every president has to cut their own path. What is one policy that you would have done differently over these last 3.5 years than President Biden?
I mean, to be very candid with you, even including Mike Pence, vice presidents are not critical of their presidents. I think that really actually, in terms of the tradition of it and also just going forward, it does not make for a productive and important relationship.
Oh, okay, so there we have it now. Kamala Harris, you spent the last 3 or 4 years pretty much doing nothing. Well, I guess she's at least being perhaps a bit more honest there, but that's not what Joe Biden said just the other day.
Well, I'm in constant contact with her. She's aware we're singing from the same song sheet. She helped pass all the laws that are being employed now. She was a major player in everything we've done, including passage of legislation which we were told we could never pass. And so she's been, and her staff is interlocked with mine in terms of all the things we're doing.
A little bit of difference there, but anyway, let's get on to the roast. As I said on Friday, the great and the good of Catholic New York, including the Cardinal, got together for the annual Al Smith dinner, which is where politicians and presidential candidates take the proverbial out of one another. And Trump certainly took the brief, he took the opportunity, though he did open with a shot at himself. Sort of.
Nope, I've got nothing. I've got nothing. There's nothing to say.
And then there was this.
It's a true pleasure to be with you this evening. Amazing pleasure. And these days, it's really a pleasure anywhere in New York without a subpoena for my appearance.
Naturally, Kamala Harris was the target of much of the routine. Have a look at this.
Campaigning can take a toll on a family and family life, although I hear that Kamala and her husband carve out some really beautiful alone time at the end of the day for an intimate dinner, just Doug, her, and the teleprompter that she uses quite well.
The affinity group White Dudes for Harris also copped a serve.
There's a group called White Dudes for Harris. Have you seen this? White Dudes for Harris. Anybody know? Are some of you here? White Dudes for Harris. Doesn't sound like it. But I'm not worried about them at all because their wives and their wives' lovers are all voting for me.
Even the Cardinal had to smile at that one, which makes you wonder what maybe he's heard in the confession box. Now, Trump also took this shot at Tim Walz.
I used to think the Democrats were crazy for saying that men have periods, but then I met Tim Walz.
Not even would-be first fella Doug Emhoff, that's Kamala's husband, who has been praised by the left for giving America a new definition of masculinity, was spared.
Major issue in this race is child care, and Kamala has put forward a concept of a plan. A lot of people don't like it. The only piece of advice I would have for her in the event that she wins would be not to let her husband, Doug, anywhere near the nannies. Just keep them away. That's a nasty one. That's nasty.
Oh, yeah, that was nasty. All in all, though, it was quite the tour de force. A lot of laughter, maybe even, you might say, a bit of joy. Hey, speaking of joy, let's go back to the campaign trail and see how the happy warrior, Kamala Harris, is tracking, shall we?
Would never again have the privilege of standing behind the seal of the President of the United States. Never